And it says here that the graph of a function f is shown below. And it says to find one value of x for which f of x is equal to -4, and also to find f of 2. Okay, so we have just in the layout. Okay, so you have f of x is equal to -4. And again, f of x is a functional notation for what we otherwise say is going to be y is equal to -4. So it turns out that for what we have in the case of y equal to -4, so you have along the y-axis, you have y at -4. And guess what? That's going to correspond to x is equal to 0. Now we have next looking for f of 2. Okay. And that means that we have for f of 2, okay, that means you're going to have what y is whenever x is equal to 2. And guess what? Whenever x is at 2, okay, you have for your y value that is going to be at -2. Okay, so we have, in effect, we're going to have that f of 2 is equal to -2. Now, for what we have in the case of item number 8, and it says here that the entire graph of the function g is shown in the figure below. And it says to write the domain and range of g using interval notation. Now, in the case of what we have in the domain, okay, this is going to be your set of x values. Range is going to be the set of y values. And if you notice in the layout, okay, now we have, say in the case of x, now we have -4. And guess what? -4 is not included. And we've got -4 is less than x. And guess what? You have traveling along. You have x is increasing, and it's going to reach a saturation point once we get to x is equal to 5. So we have, in the case of x, we have -4 is less than x is less than or equal to 5. And so that would translate out to -4 in parentheses and 5 in the bracket. So we have for the domain of the graph, okay, we have, again, you have between -4 and 5, exclusive of -4 and inclusive of 5. Now, for what we have in the case of the range, you're looking at the set of y values. And if you notice at the bottom, we have -2. We have it's less than or equal to y, and y is going to be such that the graph is traveling upward, and you have a saturation point that is going to be reached until we near and do not quite reach y is equal to 2. So we have for the inequality that defines, okay, the range of values in y. So we have between -2 inclusively, but not including 2. So the layout in this one, okay, we have, again, between -2 inclusively, and we have approaching but not including +2. Now, in the case of what we have for the domain and the range of this particular graph, okay, now this is going to have a bit of different twists thrown in. Okay, now if we look at the domain, so you're looking at for x, we have that -5, and thanks to the solid point we have is less than or equal to x, and we keep traveling until we reach a saturation point, so we have that x is less than 1. But if you notice, okay, we have x is going to continue. And so we have in terms of the follow-through, we have that 2 is less than x, which in turn is less than or equal to 4. And just for the interval notation, so we have for -5 is less than or equal to x. So -5 is in the bracket. 1 is going to be in the parenthesis. And then we have for the second portion of the graph, you have 2 in parenthesis and 4 in the bracket. And we're going to intertwine, okay, these regions. So we have for the domain, okay, we have between -5 and 1. And that's going to be in union with those values of x greater than 2 and in turn less than or equal to 4. Now, in the case of what we have for the range, okay, now looking at what we have traveling in terms of y, Okay, so you have for your bottommost y value, okay, you have -3. And since we have a close point, we have is less than or equal to y. And as we're traveling upward, guess what? Now you have an open circle here, but we're looking at traveling along y. So you have, if you notice, as we're traveling, say going up and past y is equal to -2, you also have the simultaneous occurrence that is going on. So where we have the right graph to reach the saturation point, guess what? There's still a y value that is occurring. So in a sense, the relay has been passed, and so the traveling along y remains nonstop until we have the highest point reached, and that is going to be exactly at y is equal to 5. So we have, for the y values, we have between -3 and 5 inclusively, and that set defines what we have for the range.